Have you noticed how the loudest person in the room is often mistaken for the strongest? At work, it's the colleague who interrupts. At home, it's the family member who talks over you. In public, it's the stranger who believes a raised voice equals respect. And every time you walk away thinking, why didn't I have the right words? Here's the truth. Winning a clash of voices doesn't require lungs of steel. It requires precision. A few exact words delivered with calm can shift the balance more than any scream. That's what this video is about. And these aren't tricks. They are timeless principles of communication, sharpened for centuries by the greatest Stoic thinkers. I will give you 5 powerful responses, not theories, not vague advice. 5 sentences, short, direct, ready to use, that can stop an argument in its tracks. Each one is designed to protect your dignity, silence manipulation, and make others pause long enough to see you differently. Think of conversations as duels. Most people swing wildly, wasting energy. These 5 responses, they're like carrying a blade so sharp that one strike is enough. You don't exhaust yourself. You don't play their game. You end it with presence. And listen carefully. By the time we reach the 3rd response, I'll reveal something special, a practice, a living tool that can flip a heated moment into stillness in less than 60 seconds. That's my gift to you for staying with me. By the end of this video, you'll know how to handle the boss who shouts, the friend who mocks, the partner who won't listen, and even the stranger who tries to push you into conflict. 5 responses, 5 moves, 5 shields. So let me ask you, the next time someone tries to control you with noise, will you let their storm decide the outcome? Or will you have the exact words that turn the storm into silence? Lean closer. It begins now. 1. I don't need to shout to stand strong. Some people think authority comes from volume. They pound the table, raise their voice, and expect obedience. But the louder they get, the more they reveal how fragile their logic truly is. I remember a scene in an airport. A father erupted at the gate agent, words sharp, furious. His wife stayed calm. When the storm peaked, she said softly, "We'll get where we need to go, with or without the shouting." Instantly, the energy shifted. The agent turned toward her, not him. Composure had seized the room. That's the essence of this response. I don't need to raise my voice to be right. Whisper it once, and suddenly you're no longer wrestling in the noise. You're leading from silence. Why does it work? Because calm disrupts the script. People expect counterattacks, but when you stay centered, their entire strategy collapses. It's like stepping into a duel with a blade so sharp that a single movement ends it. You don't exhaust yourself. You don't play their game. And here's the deeper truth. Calm protects you, not just the conversation. Shouting spikes your pulse, burns your energy, leaves you drained. But calm words, they guard your health while magnifying your authority. In that sense, calm is both shield and sword. Epictetus once warned, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Every calm word is proof of that mastery. Calm is the weight that tips the scale. Picture the office. Your manager shoots down your idea, voice raised. Instead of matching his tone, you answer steadily, "I don't need to raise my voice to be right." You've declared dignity without aggression, and the room knows it. Practice. This week, try lowering your voice once when tension rises. Watch how the other person unconsciously adjusts. Steadiness is contagious, and once you model it, others follow. I used to believe shouting made me sound powerful. Looking back, I probably just sounded like a car alarm, loud, annoying, and ignored after 30 seconds. The twist? Calmness is not weakness. Calmness is strategy. It's refusing to feed the fire, even while standing firm in the flame. So the next time someone raises their voice at you, ask yourself, will I wrestle in their storm, or will I anchor the room in silence? 2. The way you speak reveals you. How many scars on your heart were left not by actions, but by words? Sarcasm, mockery, contempt. They often arrive dressed as humor, but cut like a knife. The instinct is to fight fire with fire, to throw back sharper words. Yet that only drags you into their pit. There is a cleaner way. You hold up a mirror. Say calmly, the way you speak says more about you than about me. I once witnessed this at a wedding reception. A brother made a cruel joke about his sibling's career, and the crowd laughed nervously. Instead of lashing out, the younger brother looked at him and said, "Your words say more about you than about my life." The laughter died. The mirror had been placed in his hands, and suddenly he felt the weight of his own voice. That's why this response is powerful. It doesn't defend. It doesn't insult. It reflects. And when someone hears themselves clearly for the first time, silence follows. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And when someone's words drip with contempt, it is their soul, not yours, that carries the stain. Think deeper. This line not only shields your dignity, it resets the entire conversation. Most people expect you to argue or crumble. Instead, you change the script. You let them drown in the sound of their own tone. And in that moment, others watching can no longer side with the mocker. They feel the shift of respect toward you. In the office, a colleague sneers at your effort. Instead of striking back, you say the phrase. At home, a partner mocks your decision. You hold up the mirror. Every time the effect is the same. The venom loses its power because you never drank it. Mockery burns itself when faced with a mirror. This is why Marcus also taught that the best revenge is simply not to become like your enemy. And I'll be honest, I once thought sarcasm made me sound witty, but it really just made me sound cheap. That's the trap. When you throw the poison back, you only end up tasting it yourself. There's a hidden gift here. When you refuse to react as they expect, you seize authorship of the scene. You're no longer the target, you're the director. And when you direct with calm, everyone remembers it. Practice this once. The next sarcastic comment you hear, pause, breathe, deliver the phrase softly like handing them back their reflection. Then let silence do the work. Now ask yourself, how many of the wounds you've carried were never really about you at all, but about the broken tone of the one who spoke? 3. Let's talk when respect is possible. Not every conversation is truly a conversation. Some are ambushes disguised as dialogue, filled with interruptions, raised voices, and the constant push of my truth over yours. You try to explain, but every sentence is cut in half. The noise swallows reason. In that moment, you do not need to fight harder. You need to lift the standard. Say calmly, let's talk when we can do it respectfully. I once sat in a boardroom where two men clashed so violently that the assistants outside stopped working just to listen. Papers shook on the table. Voices rose to the ceiling. Then a woman who had remained silent spoke. She stood, gathered her notes, and said, "Gentlemen, I'll rejoin this meeting when we can speak with respect." She walked out, and suddenly the shouting collapsed into silence. She had seized the authority by refusing to remain in the mud. This response is not retreat, it is boundary. It says, I choose not to engage until the ground is fit for real dialogue. It reminds both you and the other person that respect is not optional. It is the price of admission. Epictetus would say, you cannot control their words, but you can control what you accept into your space. Think of how liberating this is. Instead of being dragged into endless verbal brawls, you step outside of them. You reclaim your nervous system. You teach your body, we will not trade peace for noise. At home, when someone keeps cutting you off, you say it. On the street, when a stranger argues only to provoke, you say it. And each time the message is clear. Conversation is a privilege, not a weapon. Respect is the doorway. Without it, there is no entry. Try this once in the coming days. When chaos rises, instead of matching it, pause. Say the phrase and step back. Notice how the stillness that follows feels different. Not weak, but commanding. Now ask yourself, which arguments in your life are not worth another word until respect is restored? Let me leave you with 3 lines. Simple but strong enough to change the way you stand in any storm. Here is the gift I promised you. Say these words quietly to yourself and let them anchor deep. I deserve respect without raising my voice. No one controls my calm. It is mine alone. When I choose silence, I choose power. Carry these 3 lines with you. Repeat them in moments of conflict. Let them remind you that dignity doesn't beg, it declares. And every time you affirm them, you reclaim the ground beneath your feet. 4. I prefer not to continue. There are battles that drain more than they give. How many arguments have you stayed in long after you knew nothing good would come of it? Arguments where the other person isn't listening, isn't seeking truth. They're only looking for victory, even if it costs you peace. If you've ever stayed in that kind of exchange, you know the exhaustion that follows. Not every fight is worth your breath. The response is simple, yet it lands like a closing door. I'd prefer not to continue this conversation. I saw this once in a quiet cafe. A woman sat across from her ex, who laced every word with poison. He smirked, prodded, tried to reopen old wounds. She didn't match his bitterness. She finished her coffee, met his eyes, and said, "This conversation ends here for me." Then she stood and left. The cafe felt lighter the moment she walked out. She hadn't surrendered. She had reclaimed her air. Most people think walking away is weakness. The truth? Walking away at the right time is the highest form of command. Why does this phrase work? Because it severs the fuel line? Arguments are like fires. They burn as long as you feed them. Seneca said, "Every fight avoided is a victory saved." When you end the exchange, you cut off oxygen. What's left? Silence, and your dignity intact. Quiet strength chosen is power taken back. Seneca also warned that anger always outlives the moment. It punishes you longer than your enemy. Here's the strategy hidden inside. You are not obligated to entertain every provocation. By refusing to continue, you protect your energy, your focus, and your presence. You show others that respect is the ticket to your attention, and without it, the show is over. Practice. Choose one draining conversation this week. Instead of stretching it further, stop it with this phrase. Say it once, calm and steady, then exit. Notice how liberating it feels not to fight for the last word. I used to think I had to win every argument. Looking back, most of those victories were like winning a drinking contest. You walk away dizzy, dehydrated, and wondering why you entered in the first place. If you've ever stayed in an argument longer than you should have, drop a comment below. Share the moment you wish you had ended sooner. You might help someone else walk away stronger. Reflection. Which conversations in your life deserve no more of your breath, and what peace could return to you the moment you step out? 5. I respect your view, but I stand apart. Not every disagreement is war. Sometimes it comes from people we love. Friends insisting we follow their path. Parents convinced they know what's best. partners pressing their worldview onto ours. Their intention may be care, but when pressure crosses the line, respect is at risk. The hardest battles aren't against enemies, but against those who believe they're helping you. This is where the fifth response shines. That's your opinion, and I respect it, but I don't share it. I remember a hike in the mountains. A friend urged me to take a shortcut down a steep path. "It'll be faster, trust me," he said. I looked at the rocky slope, smiled, and answered, "I respect your courage, but I'll take the long road." And hours later, he arrived limping with a twisted ankle, while I walked steady. Respect didn't mean surrender. It meant choosing my own ground. That moment wasn't just about a path down the mountain. It was about a path in life. People think refusing is rejection. In truth, refusing with respect is the highest form of independence. True freedom, the Stoics said, is the ability to think for yourself, not to live chained to another's approval. Why does this phrase matter? Because it marks the line where care ends and control begins. By saying it calmly, you tell the other person, "I hear you, I value you, but I am still my own voice." That subtle boundary commands more respect than blind agreement ever could. Silence is not surrender, it's command. And here's the hidden gift. Once people realize they cannot bend you, they begin to trust you. They may argue less because your stance is clear. Your independence teaches them where you end and they begin. Practice. This week, when someone pushes too hard, don't argue point by point. Use the phrase once. Let it stand. Watch how it both protects the relationship and affirms your dignity. I'd been on other adventures with that same friend. And honestly, I used to be just like many of you, naive, unsure how to defend my own stance. He was always the one leading, always deciding. But on that mountain day, when I finally used this phrase, he froze wide-eyed. And from that moment on, something shifted. He began to follow my ideas more often, instead of fighting for the right to lead. Reflection. Where in your life are you surrendering opinions for approval, and how different would it feel to simply say, "I respect you, but I stand apart"? 5 responses, 5 shields, 5 ways to stand tall without raising your voice. Think back to each of them. Choosing calm over noise, holding up the mirror, setting respect as the condition, walking away with dignity, and standing apart with independence. They are simple sentences, but each one is a door. Step through them, and you'll find yourself in a different place, one where you no longer chase victory by volume, but command it by presence. In Stoicism, this is the essence of self-mastery, not bending the world to your will, but mastering the ground you stand on. Remember this, respect is not seized by shouting, it is inspired by character. So here's my final invitation. Don't just let these words stay on the screen. Take one phrase, use it this week, and then come back here. Share your story in the comments. I read them, and I know someone else in this community will find strength in your words too. And if you want to keep sharpening your calm into unshakable power, hit subscribe. It costs nothing, but every click tells the algorithm, give me more of this. And I promise what comes next will take you even deeper. These responses aren't about changing others. They are reminders that the greatest power lies in governing yourself. And when you do, no storm can shake you. When I choose calm, I rise above. When I speak with clarity, I lead. When I walk in stillness, I carry power that no storm can shake.